From many a moment you didn't realize was entirely made up on the spot, or not as it later became known, to mind-boggling mistakes leading to an entire feature being redubbed. It's time you discovered the secrets every other Star Wars diehard has already had their minds utterly blown by. Gareth here from What Culture Star Wars, and here are 10 Star Wars secrets everyone knows but you. Number 10. Many a celebrity cameo you missed. It has become an adventure in its own right, unpacking precisely which well-known stars of stage and screen have managed to wiggle their way into the various space-aged locales seen in whatever latest slice of Star Wars goodness is being pumped onto our screens. Most recently, Zach Braff's unexpected cameo, whilst buried deep in prosthetics as the double-crossing Freck in Disney Plus's Obi-Wan Kenobi, acted as the latest well-known celeb getting in on the Skywalker saga action. But he merely joins the likes of Joseph Gordon-Levitt playing Slow and Low, Tom Hardy and Daniel Craig rocking up as Stormtroopers, and Simon Pegg as Unkar Plutt, to seriously name but a few. In making a subtle mark on a series each of the stars clearly hold very dear to their hearts. Said cameos aren't strictly confined to famous actors either, with music sensations like Ed Sheeran and Nick Godrich both appearing in Rise of Skywalker at various points too. Number 9. Ewan McGregor hasn't always been a huge fan of the Star Wars experience. Time has a way of healing all wounds, and luckily it found a way to help Ewan McGregor recover from his prequel-inflicted ones just in time for him to rediscover his Obi-Wan Kenobi mojo for Disney+. Yet while McGregor has been quick to note how refreshing it's been in more recent times to come into contact with the younger folks they made the prequel films for, the Scottish star hasn't always been a huge admirer of the all-round Star Wars experience he's found himself at the centre of. Claiming that he'd not actually come into contact with any genuine fans of the galaxy far, far away for the most part back in 2014, McGregor would claim, "The people I meet are the effers who want me to sign Star Wars photos so they can sell them on the internet, or the people at premieres who are crushing children against barriers to get me to sign their effing picture of Obi-Wan Kenobi. They're not fans, they're parasitical lowlifes and effing W-ers." Thankfully, those kids who were likely crushed against said barriers found a way to bring Ewan back to the light side in the end. Number 8. Return of the Jedi's fake production title helped the shoot. It's become pretty standard practice in this day and age to disguise the filming of one of the hottest incoming features the movie business has to offer with the gifting of a fake production name to said project. See Avengers Infinity War and Endgame's codename of Mary Lou, for example. But some 3 decades or so before Robert Downey Jr. and co. were going under the radar, the folks trying to bring the eagerly awaited original trilogy concluding Return of the Jedi opted to head down the secret title route to ensure the studio wouldn't be priced out of using certain locations just because there was an eye-catching Star Wars feature coming to town. Blue Harvest was the title eventually landed on, with said fake feature having the backstory of being an incoming horror flick, with the artificial tagline of horror beyond imagination. This also helped keep unwanted attention from the general public to a minimum when shooting on location, with next to nobody giving a damn about a title that would soon go on to become the catalyst for a Family Guy corner of the galaxy in its own right. Number 7. Han Solo's I Know wasn't completely improvised in the moment. For the longest time, it was largely believed that, being the lovable maverick fans knew him to be, Harrison Ford had decided to cheekily go off script in the heat of the moment, with Han Solo's utterance to his beloved Princess Leia of I know on the back of her declaration of love towards the smuggler. In actual fact though, said line, while not in the original script, wasn't actually entirely improvised on the fly by Ford there and then. Thanks to recordings from the set of The Empire Strikes Back now being made available to dive into, and Vulture later providing confirmation on the matter, it was later revealed that the actor actually discussed replacing the previously planned response of "just remember that, 'cause I'll be back" with director Irving Kershner on set. Then, after some typical Ford persuasion tactics that consisted of him feeling I know better fit the sequence and Solo in general, Kershner eventually granted Ford this request, and an instantly iconic one-liner was emphatically born, just with a little prior planning first. Number 6. How much did the galaxy's feature players make? It certainly pays to be a part of one of the biggest pop culture franchises to have ever existed in this particular galaxy, but just how much? Well, to begin with, Harrison Ford was said to have pocketed a cool $10,000 for his work as Han Solo in A New Hope, with the likes of Mark Hamill and Sir Alec Guinness being said to have come away with $650,000 and $3.3 million respectively for said first outing. Carrie Fisher's salary wasn't officially disclosed, however, though it's been reported that she earned 0.25% of the flick's total profits, which is not too shabby. Jumping into prequel territory, Ewan McGregor reportedly earned $7 million for appearing in Revenge of the Sith alone, with the Scottish star likely earning a pretty penny from his new spin-off show too. Rounding out the pay packets, newcomers Daisy Ridley and John Boyega were both able to land between $100,000 to $300,000 for their work on The Force Awakens, with said salary no doubt rising for the subsequent entries, which is something you can probably apply to the rest of the people on this list. And the likes of Oscar Isaac and Adam Driver, being slightly more high-profile names at the time, were able to secure mid to high six-figure deals upon making their Star Wars bows in the same flick. So simply put, they got paid! Number 5, who needs a script? Despite the aforementioned iconic delivery of I know not actually coming out of nowhere, that's not to say this galaxy far, far away hasn't played host to its fair share of previously unexpected and unscripted beats over the decades, proving that sometimes the most charming Star Wars utterances have been known to come in the heat of a moment. Chirrut Imwe actor Donnie Yen would admit that his declaring of "Are you kidding me, I'm blind?" upon having his head bagged in Rogue One was completely made up by the actor on the day of shooting. Mark Hamill was also not exactly shy about adding the odd bit of dialogue or action into a scene should he feel the urge, with his A New Hope line of "I can't see a thing in this helmet," and kissing of Carrie Fisher's head during their exchange in The Last Jedi, both not being in the script before the director called action. Number 4, Harrison Ford soared up the Millennium Falcon. Before he became known for playing perhaps the single most recognizable smuggler in the galaxy, you may be aware of the fact that Harrison Ford was actually very much immersed in the field of carpentry. However, coming equipped with the ability to master all things wooden isn't always a great thing. When you find yourself on the set of an incoming blockbuster, that is, as Mark Hamill would hilariously recall to Empire. Apparently, on one particularly stressful day, Ford took to literally sawing his beloved Millennium Falcon to bits, on the back of production on an original trilogy flick, leaving him rather frustrated. As Hamill would explain, people were coming up to me going, "You've got to stop Harrison, he's sawing up the Falcon. It was made of wood and he just took a saw to it. I love Harrison." In that same conversation, the Luke Skywalker actor would also recount a tale of Ford jigging his way into his dressing room to the sound of Andrea True Connection's More, 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 only to completely no-sell the antics the minute someone arrived at Hamill's door. "Give us more, more, more of this, Ford, please." Number 3, what goes into green milk? Despite sitting as perhaps one of the most jarring scenes ever committed to the Skywalker saga as a whole, you'd be lying if you said you weren't even just a little bit curious as to what in the world the recently harvested green milk Luke Skywalker was seen consuming in The Last Jedi tasted like. Well, wonder no more, as Mark Hamill himself eventually shed some light as to what Tala Siren green milk actually consisted and tasted of via his Twitter account. As it goes, if you're a fan of regular coconut water, then are you in for a treat the next time you squeeze the teat of a Tala Siren chilling by the Acto water. And in order to give the liquid its unmistakable green aesthetic, Hamill would also note how this effect was actually remarkably added into the scene in post-production. So there you have it, you can rest easy knowing said unsettling scene isn't as entirely disturbing as you previously thought. Still pretty weird though, right? Number 2, all of Attack of the Clones was redubbed. For years, the vast majority of Star Wars fans have often lumped George Lucas's seemingly soulless Attack of the Clones near the bottom of many a rankings list when it comes to the Skywalker saga. Now sure, there are some admitted highlights in the form of some particularly compelling lightsaber duels, battleground skirmishes, and staggering CGI. But the entire endeavor often feels weighed down by dialogue that feels entirely unnatural and disconnected from the living beings actually delivering the words. Well, as recently revealed by Obi-Wan Kenobi actor Ewan McGregor, the fact the entire film was said to have been redubbed likely didn't help Episode 2 when it came to its routinely clunky and lifeless verbal exchanges. As McGregor would note a slash film, the cutting-edge cameras used for this groundbreaking prequel entry were actually rather noisy, with the actor admitting it was so noisy, and when in post-production they realized at the end that the noise they made was exactly the frequency of the human voice. So we had to ADR every single line of Episode 2. None of the original dialogue made it through because of that, because the cameras were like so new. So it turns out Hayden Christensen was forced to complain about sand both on location and within a recording booth later down the road. Poor soul. Number 1, Finn's familiar Stormtrooper number. I'm finishing off with a rather satisfying secret hiding in plain sight that went completely overlooked by the vast majority of folks who filed into cinema screens for the record-breaking return of all things Star Wars in 2015. Bursting onto the Force Awakens scene like a stormtrooper possessed, John Boyega's Finn, aka FN2187, instantly captured fans' attention from the second he was spotted questioning his allegiances to the big bad First Order early on in J.J. Abrams' flick. However, what most weren't actually quick to spot upon taking an interest in Boyega's troubled trooper was the fact that his original First Order title, before being charmingly rechristened by Poe Dameron, was actually a callback to a particularly adored princess. Jumping all the way back to 1977, A New Hope saw Carrie Fisher's Leia being held captive on the Death Star in cell number, you guessed it, 2187. And this initial reference was actually a nod to a short film called 2187 by Arthur Lipsett, which actually inspired George Lucas to create the feature THX-1138 and the concept of the Force as a whole. In short, 2187 is a rather significant number in this corner of the galaxy. And that's our list of any other Star Wars secrets that everybody knows but you, even though you now know these, but do you know any more that other people don't know? Then let me know in the comment section right down below. Also, make sure to like, share, and click on that subscribe button, and head on over to whatculture.com if you are into this kind of thing, because we got more lists, we got more articles, we got more editorials, and Star Wars stuff getting thrown at your face. I've been Gareth from What Culture Star Wars. Thank you as always for clicking on this video today. May the Force be with you, and I hope to see you very, very soon. Bye-bye!